let's talk a little bit about this poll question we have right now. Which positive performance against the Titans do the Broncos need to carry over to the Steelers game the most? Okay, so there were certain things that happened in the game that you say, okay, you can build on. Mm-hmm. And there's certain things that happen, I'm not going to say anomaly, but you know it's not going to always be that good. For example, not giving up any sacks. Now, they only gave up 5 sacks down the stretch with Drew Lock out there, so you know it's possible they can keep the sack numbers low. 0, that's probably not realistic, even against the Steelers. No penalties on offense, probably a tough one to carry forward too. DB's not giving up big pass plays. I think that one's kind of an interesting one to talk about as it relates to the Pittsburgh offense. And then finally, Drew Lock not throwing interceptions. So which of these would you vote for, at least on this poll question?
I was thinking about it, and I started one way and went another. And I think for me, I ended on no sacks is the most important.
That's what I voted for too.
And I think you keep your quarterback healthy, clean, and upright. You instill a confidence in him that he can trust his offensive line, and you're not putting the offense behind the chains and down distance situations. I think this team can recover from a turnover. Mm-hmm. I think Drew Lock can throw a pick, and I have the confidence in his ability and his moxie to come back and march the team down the field if he makes a mistake like that. I don't have the confidence that if they allow him to get beat up and continually put him in situations where he's going to have to bail them out, that's going to be a good situation. So I went ahead and went with the sacks. There are arguments to be made for all 4 answers.
Oh, of course. And I voted the sacks one too, along giving up no sacks. But I put that one too because for this team, it's about manageable down and distance. Okay? And, of course, penalties play into that too. The offense didn't have any penalties, which is spectacular. Mm-hmm. They played clean football. Drew Lock didn't throw any interceptions. If Melvin Gordon didn't have his fumble, they'd probably win this game. It really kind of comes down to that. This the small stuff. There's still narrow margins.
There are a lot of.
Yeah, right.
Punch it in on the 1 yard line. Kick a field goal there.
Any one of those
fumble.
things.
There's a whole litany of things that don't have that pass interference.
But manageable down and distance is one we covered in the offseason. We talked about quite a bit in the offseason about giving yourself an opportunity, second, third down, manageable situations. Now, you're not going to have to deal with the crowd noise in this game against the Steelers, but you're just an offense that needs that anyways. Like just by the way things are set up. Now, hopefully you get Courtland Sutton back. Hopefully you're getting a little healthier with KJ Hamler out there too. But again, you sort of have to take this thing as, what do we have to accomplish right now? We got to get 3 yards here. We got to get 5 yards here. How do we get that and keep this thing moving? They had 6 freaking plays in the third quarter against Tennessee. You can't do that. You can't do that to your defense. You can't do that against good teams because they'll roast you.
Pat Shurmur's going to have to understand that there are times where you're just going to have to run the ball. You can't, like Pat Shurmur loves to throw the ball on first down and run it on second, and then whatever's available, I'll figure it out on third. That's kind of his, whereas a lot of guys are run on first, pass on second, or run on first, play action on second. He tends to be the other way around. He tends to pass it on first down and then run it on second, and then, if they don't get it on there, then we'll figure it out depending on the down and distance. He's going to have to learn to run the ball a little bit more. He made several mistakes not running the football and buying his team the opportunity, especially with a young quarterback, the timing not down on this offense yet, and young receivers. He had opportunities in the second quarter where they threw a bunch and didn't get anything. He had opportunities with the last 2 drives on offense where he should have run the ball and milked the clock, and instead you came away with 2 drives that milked, I believe, a combined 40 seconds off the clock. Also, as a veteran offensive coordinator, you get to hammer it home to that young coach that is inexcusable to snap the ball with 10 seconds left on the play clock when you were trying to milk the clock, which he did. There are all kinds of things they need to go back to the tape, and hey, we need to remember basic football around here.
Well, and we talked about it, and there's nothing you could do about it now, but it certainly felt like a preseason game at times. And I'm sure for even the guys on the field, we talked to Sam Martin earlier. Even for the guys on the field, it felt at times like a bit of a scrimmage. But you have to get out of that mindset. These games count. You were dead last in your own division right now because the other teams won in the division. Now, it's week 1. But the thing is we already know where this thing stacks up. The Chiefs are the team to beat until otherwise, and everybody else you're vying for. There's an extra spot in the playoffs. It's only week 1. I'm not counting them out of anything, but you're already chasing. And you're going on the road to the Steelers, who are playing with a lot of confidence because Ben Roethlisberger's back, and they look like a team that wants to really contend this year. So, you don't want to get 0-2 and let this thing snowball, because that's kind of what happened last year. You started 0-1. We said, okay, it's fine. They're going to come home. They're going to face the Bears. They're a better team than the Bears. Mitch Trubisky is not a good quarterback. And guess what? They lost that game late. And then they continued. They let it snowball all the way through 4 games. And then after 4 games is when they finally turned around. But the 4th game was the one that actually felt like they were trending back up. Really thought they were going to win that game against Jacksonville. The numbers they put up in that game, offensively and defensively, were enough to win. They just didn't close. That's the one thing I think a lot of Broncos fans right now are in this feeling of, are we in here we go again, or is it different this time?
I think you have to learn to close out. That's one thing. But going back to last year, they were also a team that was still learning the new system, new scheme, defensively and offensively. The defense is fine. The defense held the team that went to the AFC Championship game to 16 points. That's good. They held Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry to 16 points on 72 offensive plays, by the way. That's good.